Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Living with Philosophy. We've got Barry and Chesh here today. Opie, I think, is out doing America Land things because it's the 4th of July. Congratulations, America, on
America.
250 years, I think, is what they're at now. Canada Day is
Yeah,
also
yeah.
this is like the weekend Canada Day because our
I'm
Canada Day
surprised
is on the
Trump hasn't left
1st.
it for a younger country.
Oh, isn't that what he's doing to? No, because Venezuela is older than America, right? That's who he yoinked,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. He's got to invent his new America with blackjack and hookers, and all the hookers are under 15.
Ireland has only been a country since 1921, so we are watching our undergarments to make sure they don't get removed
Oh no, I gotta look out for
by
that.
Trump. Yeah. Uh,
Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have an interesting statement slash question, which is what was our question again?
we're not
Religion
going to
has no
discuss why it's
place.
just us.
Well, Opie's away. So
Hello,
it's us,
everybody,
Okay.
and
and
welcome.
we're not Americans.
Okay.
Is there anything more to say about it? Just
don't,
us.
don't just don't. Okay, because you know what you said in the green room. And if you're just going to let it, if you're just going to just write it out, then that's fine. That's your own business. I'm not going to be the one to bring that up. Let's put it that way. If you bring it up, I will finish the story. But if you don't bring it up, that's your own business. Let's carry on.
Rosina says that Trump failed with blackjack because his casino went bankrupt. That's
How do you
good.
go
That's
bankrupt
good.
as a casino? How is that possible?
I don't know. I just you
Although I'll show you something
purposely,
outside my
intentionally.
window. I
Whoa.
don't know if you can see that. Can you see half-constructed houses there?
Oh yeah, right there.
Right, those houses. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a housing estate. Across the road from me, there's a housing estate, and those houses are half constructed. Construction stopped on them a month, 2 months ago. Construction just stopped dead because the building company ran out of money. The housing market in Ireland is the biggest it's ever been. It's all the property values are hyperinflated right now. No one can get a rental. How do you lose money? How building houses in an overinflated property market? Somebody please explain it to me, and then contact these guys and explain it to them because we need houses, and it's
Uh,
just there's nothing happening across the road.
economics
Six
don't make any
casinos, sweet
sense.
Jesus! Sorry, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Pritesh. Go on.
No, you're right. You're right. That is the correct response.
My God, how do
um,
you lose money
I don't,
taking money from people?
I don't know. I
Oh
don't know.
man, sorry, Chesh. I interrupted your sentence.
No, you're good. So today we're talking about, and we'll probably do a follow up with this because we had two people that are also still interested in this that weren't able to join us today because of, it being the 4th of July. So we might
America.
do it again, but that just means me and Barry get to say more about it than they do, which means we're probably going to be right and more right than they are.
Probably going to be right. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, I hope he's not going to
Un-
like this already.
Unfair balance, yeah. So okay, so the
So
question
expected.
slash statement is religion has no place in modern society. And I know we both, yeah, Opie's busy with the 4th. I was right. I'm not crazy. I knew what's going on. You're crazy and know what's going on. Let me
Your
grab the
face is
actual.
crazy. You know what's going on.
So this was a Reddit thread that unfortunately got removed by the moderators, so we don't have the whole thing. So I'll just read you
Smart
the
moderators.
yeah, because it's also like it's not really in the right place. It's honest hot takes instead of like our religion or our atheism or one of those
Okay.
subreddits. So like I kind of see why it's here because it is kind of hot takey, but like so it says we can see at least two of the arguments. So we can talk about those.
Okay.
Religion has no place in modern society. Religion causes more harm than good. There are extremists in almost every religion. And then it says, and all of them. And I think it goes on to say something about oppressing women, but I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it goes on to say. Where do you want to start?
Okay. You want me to say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, I, despite the fact that this is a terrible way to open any sentence, as an atheist, um, I do not hold with any religion, and I do somewhere in the back of my head I think that societies would in general be better without religion. However, however, once you start digging down and examining exactly what's happening in that question, it's probably making a number of unspoken assumptions that may or may not be correct. And one of the things he says is that religion causes bad things to happen, right? And I think that if there was, I don't know. Are you all right with the hearing? Can you hear all right?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I'm just double checking the outside that the balance
I can hear
is
you.
okay.
I can
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you all
we're
right.
we're fine. Don't worry about that.
But,
That's not us. I'm asking them.
oh, sorry. Yeah. So, well, sometimes religion just gets hoofed into your cultural value,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have like, I was talking to a Muslim girl once, and she was trying to explain to me, like, she's very, very Islamic. So she believes all the Muslim stuff 100%, hijab 5 times a day on the ground, right? All that kind of stuff. She's into all that.
Mm.
But she's an Arab, living in an Arab country, and she hates Arab culture. She thinks Arab culture is patriarchal. She thinks it's very anti-woman. It's regressive. It's this, it's this. It's all the things that Westerners accuse Islam of.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very Islamic. But she's able to say, like, well, it's the culture is really the problem. And she might be onto something. Because I don't know if there was no religion, I think we'd still have patriarchal cultures. Religion just gets hoofed into your culture as part. It's part of the network of how you identify your values. So I really don't know if we took it out, if that would make things better or would just make things different.
It would just
But
be.
I said
It would just be
before, I
this.
said as
It'd
an
be the
atheist, I'd be
same, but
happy
a
without
little bit
religion.
different. Yeah.
Well, you'd still have the cultural values that you're using religion to express. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So you'd still
Yeah,
have
that
all
makes
those cultural
sense.
values. You'd have to find some other way. Like, women wouldn't stop being oppressed if all the Muslims converted to atheism tomorrow. Put it that way. You wouldn't find suddenly 50% of the government being women the next year. That's not how that would work at all. Hi, Grania.
Right.
A friend of mine. She's a real person in my real life.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
I have. I think you make a really good point. I have a bit of a different take. I don't
Oh, for
think
fuck's
we're.
sake.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't think we're modern enough yet.
Explain.
I don't think we can afford to get rid of religion right now in either Western society or any other society. I don't think culturally or as people we're prepared to deal with what happens if religion goes away. I don't think we're modern
No.
enough.
The problem you have isn't with religion. The problem you have is with everything that goes with religion, like social networks, charities, and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so there's that. There's the social networks, there's a social aspect that have yet to be replaced in any other real aspect. There's
This
sports.
is actually
That's
part
the
of.
closest one you're gonna get.
No, not sports, but a number of different things, including sports. Sports is not
Yeah.
the closest you can get. There's a whole bunch of
Okay.
stuff that would also do it. But this is something, funnily enough, and we were discussing
Concerts
a
are
guy
good.
called Chris Shelton in the green room, if you remember.
Yes.
And I was on one of his podcasts one time, and we discussed this. The whole podcast we were supposed to be discussing about atheism, we both assumed atheism is, I don't know, without sounding kind of self-righteous about it, it might be the way forward, right? But having said that,
Sure.
if you try to impose it on people, that's an act of evil, particularly if their
that's not
whole
good.
social network is based around religion. So what are you going to do for them? What are you going to do for these people whose entire cultural value is expressed through religion, even though if it isn't, they believe it is, right?
Mhm.
If people believe they're good because of their religion, you take away their religion, that's going to destabilize their core. So what are you
Right.
going to put in place? And people like me, like me as an atheist again, people like me are doing nothing. And he's right. Chris kind of was almost accusatory to the atheist community. He said, people like you and me, he said, well, he's involved in a program, so not him, but me.
Yeah.
We're doing nothing. He has a community action program in Denver where he is specifically trying to give people some kind of a social network, right? Which is great. His thing is about Scientology, ex-Scientology people, but it works for anybody who comes out from any network.
Yeah.
You find yourself lonely, you want a social network, and suddenly you're, hooked on drugs or whatever, right? But
Yeah. What you're talking about is something that I have been accusatory about atheist organizations for in the past. So, like, specifically the ACA.
Who are they?
They were the atheist group in Austin.
Oh, Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah. That old,
I know that
he's
group,
not in the ACA anymore. Yeah. That old group.
He's
I was
in the
like,
ACA
you guys,
in my heart.
You guys, you guys are pulling people and actively trying to convert people out of a religion, and then you're imposing your own ideals onto them, and they're moving
That's not
from
right.
one thing and then just one dogma and then just replacing it with another dogma. You're not helping these people actually deconvert. You're just subbing one thing for another, and you're not actually helping these people. So you guys need to actually go and talk to professionals and bring some professionals into these spaces to actually walk them through these things. Yeah, no, it pissed me off.
Because if you have people in a cult, right?
Yeah.
There's an understanding that you can't just take people out of a cult. That you have to do what's called deprogramming, and you have to give them supports. And the supports you have to give them is fucking maintenance, right? It's a maintenance issue. You have to turn up every week. You can't just say one time, "Are you okay now?" and then you don't talk to them ever again. That's not how a social network works. You have to go around to their house every week, and that's a real pain in the ass.
Busy.
But that's what religions do. They show up every week in this big building, and all your friends show up, and that's what they do. And how you want to just remove that from people? Hey, Jeff, you don't.
Yeah, you can't.
Jeff's profile picture. I never get sick of it. Look at this profile picture.
Oh, he's so cool. Jeff is so cool.
Oh my god, isn't that amazing? Look at him now. I want to join your band. Sorry.
I want to see your band
play. You can't do that to people. Now, I think religions are wrong about everything, pretty much. Certainly all their supernatural stuff. But an awful lot of cultural stuff gets hoofed into it. That's nothing to do with believing in God.
I think people
if you read the Quran, a lot of it is social welfare.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's a bit that says, oh, if a guy dies in the wars for Islam, and the woman is left as a widow with her kids, it's a responsibility of some man left in the Islam community to marry her and take a second wife. If he can afford it, it's his responsibility to take care of her, right? That's great. It's terrible now, but back then, it's what they had instead of social welfare. It's a social welfare measure, and there's a lot of stuff in the Quran that's social welfare. There's a lot of stuff in the New Testament that's essentially social welfare. We're going to put all our money together and buy our food communally, and no one is going to go hungry who walks through that door, right? Yeah. You don't need to say, "Oh, God is going to save my soul" or anything to do that. It's just if you have the eternal, imminent features in your life, it makes it easier, I guess.
I don't think we're modern enough in our society to have enough of a driving factor to do that without religion currently.
Well, that's what the communists are trying to do. Yeah. That's what the Marxists were trying to do. They're trying to put together a society based around caring about each other, and boy, do they fuck that up occasionally. But they're trying to put it. Stalin was on a different level, but they're trying to put together a society based around caring around each other without having to talk about God at all. To the point where Hoxha in Albania shut down all the churches. Stalin shut down all the churches, and he said, "No, the state is going to perform all the functions of the church." But he took it one step further and said, "Say your prayers to me, Stalin." Which is not what you want to do. That's the opposite problem. The problem is you want to set up like what Shelton said in the podcast. Shelton, I call him Shelton because we're mates. Shelton in the podcast said you need to have some kind of a local community organization of people who are a social network already specifically in place before you start hoofing people out of their culture. Because you're not just cancelling their religion.
Yeah.
When I came out of the religion, it wasn't that big of a deal because I'm autistic and I love being on my own and I don't give a fuck about social networks.
Stay away from me.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Do you? I assume you're kind of, I don't know, is loner too bad a word to describe you? Are you kind of on your own a lot?
I bounce back and forth depending on.
Would you, if the social network you're in right now was removed, it probably wouldn't affect you that much.
No, I'd be okay. I'd manage.
Yeah, and so would I. But a lot of people, and particularly people who are very religious, they kind of feed on correctly, not in a negative way. They kind of empower themselves through this social network.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Pull them out of it and then say, this is why when the Jehovah's Witnesses do their disbarring thing, that it's exceptionally cruel. Because they say, oh, you can't come to the meetings anymore. And they've been told before you're not allowed to have a social network involving outsiders. Yeah. So instead of saying, oh, you're not allowed to come to the meetings, you're basically saying you're not allowed to be human. Yeah. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
And so Jeff's this Marxist man, you have to agree they kind of got fucked up, yeah. But I'm still basically, I understand the vision of Marxism, and I'm okay with the Trotskyism. I like it, but I mean,
you don't have to take everything out of something, right? You can just pick the good stuff and be like, you know what, we liked this part. Can we keep this part and just get rid of that other stuff? That other stuff is pretty bad.
People will say, to me, what about Pol Pot murdering everybody? I'm against that. What about Stalin and the Russian, all the bad things Stalin did? I do not like those. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. That was terrible.
No shit.
Yeah.
There's
Anyway, go on.
I think what people forget from like just when you're observing or you're trying to have this conversation, you're talking about these kinds of things, you have to remember that people were people before religion existed,
Yeah.
particularly any of its current forms as we're seeing it. So people were already social to begin with. The religion was built into that social structure
Yeah.
regardless. Right? And so if this was built into the first place, the reason why the religion seems patriarchal is because people were patriarchal who were writing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And
It's a
if you
function of
just
their society.
right, because it's a societal situation. And so
You can't
as it
pretend it's
moves
separate
in,
to society.
right. They're so intertwined. And so if you have this is why you have such drastic differences between different churches and why you get churches splitting off from each other and going different
Yeah.
directions and you end up with different sects because sometimes it's because of geography. They're too far separated that they start because there's this magical thing that nobody talks about this and I don't know why nobody talks about this called social evolution. You're not just physically changing, you're not just biology evolution, social evolution and social things for social creatures is
Yeah.
also part of your physical evolution as well. So when
Yeah.
you have people who are the same, who have been separated very, very, very far away from each other, and they're no longer able to communicate, their societies will evolve differently. And I
Yes.
think, and I could be wrong, but I think that might be a big portion of the diametrically opposed situations you have in the United States. You have people that are not communicating with each other. You have people that are separated geographically by very large amounts of space. They are not communicating with each other effectively, and each of these states has made changes to their social structure, to their laws that are changing their social structure that others have not.
Well, I think there's two main things that would explain the divide in the United States, the broad divide. One is the Civil War,
Yep.
and the second one is, I would argue, and people don't think it was that important, but I think the Southern strategy has a lot to answer for. Do you know the Southern
Mm.
strategy, Nixon's Southern strategy
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
60s? Yeah, which is
Nixon
essentially the same thing as
nonsense.
the Civil War, but when the Republican and the Democrat parties flipped in the middle of the 60s. And I think that had a bit of effect as well. I think those two things explain what happened in America and why it's divided like this. It was encouraged to be like that, from at least the modern sense of it was encouraged to be like that from the 60s because it was electioneering. And they said, we need to get these people as racist as possible,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And they did. But then they
And they
didn't really think
succeeded.
through what that would mean in 1990 or in 2026.
Yeah.
So,
Humans being short-sighted? No, that can't
mm,
happen. Humans in power
another,
wanting to hold power? No, they wouldn't be
yeah.
short-sighted.
Like
What do you mean?
what you said there about people's ideas evolving and so on, that happens to religions, of course, as you said. But
Yeah.
sometimes the people in those religions don't understand that that's what's happened.
Yes, absolutely.
People in
I
religions
don't
will
think
think that
people are
that's
cognizant about this
like
most
a
of the time.
classic example is that I like to think about because I do think about these things. Is you know
Hmm.
the way Muslims don't like it if you draw a picture of Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't like it if you
Yeah.
draw a picture of Muhammad. They say it's a blasphemy. All right, that's relatively new, and there's no record of that from before. You good?
Yeah. I was just hearing something. Go on.
From about 1600, before 1600 it was not a thing. There are many pictures of Muhammad and nobody gave a shit, but something happened somewhere around the Renaissance, and then after that it became, and now, but Muslims now believe it's an article of their faith, that is a part of who they are as Muslims, when it never was before. But they think it's the
No.
same thing as it was before. And
Right.
Christianity is like that as well. Roman Catholics will say, oh, we're part of a long tradition and so on, but man, everything changes,
Yeah.
you know. Like
There's
it's well,
there's also a degree of particularly like evangelical Christian I've noticed, not
yeah.
everywhere, but I find at least in my interactions with religious folk, this tends to be a really really bad habit of this particular group of people. They don't know the history of their book at
Yeah,
all, like how they're like they still say things like, oh yeah, we're from this really long tradition, da 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 da, but they don't
some of them don't know what it
know.
says.
don't know what it says, don't know how it got there, don't
They've not
know
read it.
the how we got from point A to point B, what separations happened. They just think their church is the right church because that's the church that they're at and that's what they know. And it doesn't really
Yeah.
go beyond that. And
I'll say this for the
sometimes
Muslims.
that's
Every one of them has read that book.
yeah, fair enough. As
And the way the
opposed
Christians
to
have not read the Bible.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
if they
that's
can't read, they have some
notorious.
guy read it to them. Guarantee you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
valid.
So whatever's that book does say some quite outrageous things, but at least they know what those things are. Whereas sometimes if I talk to Christians and I say, oh, this, and they say, yeah, but that's not in the Bible. I said, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Christians
You know?
being notorious for not knowing what their own book says is a meme, is a funny meme on the internet.
Yeah, yeah. You can, yeah, yeah.
I wonder how
Catholic Church is
much
probably the greatest picture.
I wonder how much social media is futzing with our ability and cognizant awareness of social evolution, because now you're no longer socially changing based on just your local area. You now have a global influence from all types of
Yeah,
different cultures. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're also seeing so much like fucking everybody's fighting all of the time. And it's because
yeah.
everybody's so overloaded with cultural
Mm.
ideas just being done in front of them that they're not cognizantly aware of that this is something that's happening on the other side of the earth, or that is being done
Yeah.
to them, that they're not culturally like, they're just like, there's no degrees of
Do
separation
you
there, that
remember?
is just
Do you
bam.
remember Tumblr?
Oh yeah.
You know Tumblr, the way I still have a Tumblr. I've loaded Tumblr accounts, right? But
Yeah,
about 2008, 2009, there was this thing on Tumblr called Pro Ana. Do you remember that?
sounds familiar, but refresh me.
It was a group of girls, they were all girls, who were competing with each other to see how much weight they could lose.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they were not like trying to lose weight for health reasons. They were anorexic and they were trying to be as thin as possible to the point of death if necessary, right? And they were encouraging each other with the hashtag Pro Ana. And Tumblr at some point just decided, look, we're a free speech platform, but we have to ban this
Yeah.
because people are going to die. And that
Yeah.
was one of the first times I kind of thought to myself, there's a way in which this social media, like that would never happen without social media, because normally anorexics are just aren't, they tend to be dotted around and they're not in contact with each other. But
Flat
these
Earth was
people were
like this.
fucking hyper driving their anorexia and they were sharing tips, and it was absolutely sad. It was
Yeah.
pathetic watching them flop around with like skeletons saying, oh, I'm even more than you, and this kind of thing. That would not happen normally. And I remember thinking, this social media thing could hypercharge the bad things, you know?
Oh
And
yeah.
because before I just thought, well, look, all it does is amplify what's already there. So who cares? But this was not something that was already there. Anorexics were not networking with each other. Eugene and
Right.
Kuhn is exactly, yeah, that's one of them. They were not networking like this before that. So something new was happening that could get
Yep.
people killed. Nice, normal girls who just happen to be anorexic and they have this thing in their head, this control thing. You gotta keep fucking an eye on the calories, right?
And now it's
Yeah,
a you've introduced competition
yeah. You've
and
introduced a competition.
and a
You've gamified it.
collective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're all supporting each other instead of saying, "Oh, look, man, can we be healthy or something?" No one was saying
I
that.
think the same thing about incels.
Yeah, because they didn't have the opportunity to network like that before.
Yup. And
And
now
I
they're
thought
crabs
it
in a
was just
bucket.
amplifying what was already there. And it's not. It's something new. I was kind of, what's the word? What do you call it if you didn't know? Naive, I guess. I was kind of naive
Sure.
about it. Because I thought, I thought this internet thing is great, but it's not going to create in anybody something that wasn't already there. So in other words, what I was thinking was, if your aunt unmasks herself as a fascist on Facebook, well, she was a fascist before
She was
Facebook.
already a fascist.
So
Yeah,
who
yeah,
gives
yeah.
a shit? But then
Yep,
this
yep, yep.
pro Anna thing fucking shocked me. And I'm so glad Tumblr shut it down.
Yeah.
Directly against free speech rules and so on. I'm glad they shut it down because they might have saved somebody's life. And this thing you're talking about, incels, that's a new thing. Usually guys who are losers who can't meet women don't get to talk to each other,
Yeah. And then come
you
up
know?
with tricks and ways to try to con women and
Yeah.
assault women,
Mm.
and like, it's crazy. It's
These guys
it's
just normally just
information
end
sharing.
up in corners playing Magic the Gathering with each other, you know? I mean, that's what happens there. I love Magic the Gathering. I love Magic the Gathering. Shut up,
Stop
I love it.
reminding me of the times that I went to go
Tap
play Friday Night
I tap
Magic at the
I tap
game
one black,
store.
drop a dark ritual, and a hypnotic spectre. Hypnotic spectre, you discard. I am, yeah. I
Okay,
like
yeah,
Father Ted.
I played fucking Infect, so because
You
of
played
course I
what?
did. I played an infect deck when I played Magic
Okay.
because I'm an
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah.
Godless Comer for Two said, Glinner aside is Barry a fan of Father Ted.
Yeah, I like Father Ted a lot. Yeah. I like the IT crowd as well. I made most of it. I
Oh
think he's a
yeah.
very good comedy writer. He's just not a very good like person on trans rights. But I think he, by the way, Graham Lenihan, before all this, he did great work. We had a thing about abortion in Ireland, and it was about repeal the Eighth Amendment, which banned abortion. And there was a campaign to repeal the Eighth Amendment so that women could have access to healthcare again. And Graham Lenihan was very good during that campaign. He was pro women's rights the whole way through. And so I liked the guy. And then he just flipped, some kind of weird switch went off. I don't know, drink feck arse, yeah. No, I think he's a great comedy writer. I've seen his Black Books, I've seen the IT Crowd and Father Ted, and he's good at writing comedies, but he's just not good at, you know, cobbling together opinions on trans stuff to the point where he loses his family and his friends over it.
What? Some people. There's a back to the religion part. The argument about and we can talk about
Hi,
abortion
Mark.
another time. I think we should
Yeah,
have that conversation
this is
at
just I was
some
just using it as an
point.
example to talk about Graham
No, I'm just
Lenihan.
saying
We're
it
not going
come
to
up
get
in
into your
chat,
incorrect
and
opinion there.
we
Yeah,
should talk about it. But not today. Religion causes more harm than good.
right.
What do you think about that?
I think I understand where that idea would come from
Yeah.
because on the surface, it looks like people are fighting wars over religion. Like in Ireland, people use Ireland as an example. In Northern
Mhm.
Ireland, you had Protestants and Catholics fighting with each other, right?
Yeah.
But really, what was happening was something else. What was happening is you had loyalists and Republicans fighting each other. And Republicans
Mhm.
tend to be more or less exclusively Roman Catholic, and loyalists tend to be more or less exclusively Protestant.
Mhm.
So you can say Protestants and Catholics are fighting each other, but what's actually happening is loyalists and Republicans are fighting each other. And if they were a different religion, it wouldn't make a difference. They'd still be fighting each other.
I think I would posit this differently because I see what
One.
you're saying. I think I would posit this as, can you name a war or an assault, like any of these like major events that have taken place? Can you name a single one of them that only happened because of the religion, that if they were justified via religion? Would, if you removed the religious justification, would this war still have happened?
The Crusades, probably not.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they would have gone about it a different way. I think the
Oh
Pope would
yeah,
have,
they
well,
might
if there was
go
no
about
religion,
it
there
a
wouldn't be a
different
Pope.
way, but they would,
I
I
think it
feel
might
like they
have,
would just
or they
find
might,
different justification.
or they may not have actually invaded at all. It's possible. I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying you asked me a
Yeah,
question, and
yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
possible
that's what
answer.
I
We'll
mean.
never know because we don't have a universe where that didn't happen to compare it to.
Right.
So I don't know. And
It's very hypothetical.
mm.
It's
Another
just
thing
that,
is there was a genocide in
sorry, go.
Kosovo, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Where the Serbs, blah blah blah, right? Now, in internally, the Serbs would say to their own people, "Oh, we're going to flush all the Albanians out of Kosovo, right?
Mhm.
We're going to get rid of all the Albanians, and because Kosovo is Serbia, right? This is their death chant: Kosovo is Serbia." But when they were talking to Europeans, the other Europeans, they would say, "We are dealing with the Muslims."
Yeah.
And we, as Orthodox Christians, they tried to pitch themselves as Serb Orthodox Christians fighting against Muslims, when what they were actually doing was they were Serbs fighting against Albanians, and it really was nothing to do with religion. But they knew if
You
they said it like that, they'd get more
yeah.
sympathy because fuck Muslims, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what's going on with Gaza and Israel right now?
yeah,
Right? Like that's what Israel's
yeah,
trying to pitch, right? It's the same
yeah,
kind of thing. You can't rely either on people to be honest about what they're
mm,
doing and why they're doing it, or whether or not they
yeah,
would even come up with another justification. You have
yeah,
individuals within a war that might not go to war because that religious purpose has
yeah,
motivated them, which is different than saying, like, would an entire war have happened if you removed this one piece of justification? Because it's very likely that there very rarely does any type of major war event like that happen for one reason. It's usually a few different factors. And
yeah.
so would those individuals be motivated by other reasons?
Well,
There's no way for us to know that.
I think it should be clear to everybody now that the problem
Mhm.
Israel has with Palestinians is not that they're Muslims; it's
Right.
that they're indigenous Arabs.
Yeah.
And the reason you can say this is because if you look at how Israel treated the Mizrahi Jews, who were basically Arabs in their own country, who made Aliyah, after the Aliyah, they were treated very poorly to the point where they had to kind of form their own militias. Moroccans, in particular, decided. The Moroccan Jews, by the way, they're not Muslims, but they are Arabs. And because they were Jews, they thought they'd be okay in Israel, and they were treated very poorly. They were put into shanty towns, made to do manual work, if they were, even if they had like degrees and whatever.
Hmm.
And the whole thing was terrible. And in generally, there's a very racist hierarchy in Israel, where the darker you are, they're all Jews. They should be all the same under their own. The whole point of Israel is all Jews are the same. We're here to rescue Jews. We're a safe place for Jews. Yemeni Jews went to Israel and had their babies stolen. Ethiopian Jews, who were blackety black Jews, right? Beta Israel, they went to Israel and their women were sterilized against their will, not against their will, without their consent.
Without their consent. Yeah.
And it was said in the health department by people working for the health department that they didn't want these dirty, backwards people breeding. And they were dirty and backwards, not because they were black African. And they had the same idea with Mizrahi Jews as well, because they were darker. And the only good Jews then were Ashkenazi, meaning Central European Jews, are the only
Yeah.
good ones, the white ones. And they'll tell you, oh no, Israel cannot possibly be a white supremacist thing. Israel is one of the most white supremacist organizations. If you see how they organize it, every single prime minister in the history of the country has been Ashkenazi. Every single one of them has been a white Jew. What does it mean for your power structure if every single one of them is from a population that represents 30% of the general population? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off screen. The point
Yeah.
is, they don't hate the Palestinians because they're Muslim. They hate them because they're indigenous Arabs and they're in the fucking way.
Right.
That's it. They're
There's
backwards, dirty Arabs.
something to do as well with whether or not and how you define good, right? Does more harm than good. Religion as
And
a
how do you define
whole.
harm then?
By what metric? How are
Okay.
you possibly measuring this? Because I do remember a really good debate that had it was Stephen Fry and Christopher Hitchens back in the day versus a bishop and a woman who I can't remember what she was. It was like a or maybe it was a cardinal. And they had this. It was they were talking about Catholicism. They were talking about religion does more harm than good, yes or no, on either side. And it was a good debate, but
Yeah.
by what metric are you measuring good? Is it bad for a religion to tell a group of people they're going to hell? Is that a net negative for society? Is that a net negative for enough individuals? Is that a net negative? Is just even one person getting a negative experience from that experience bad enough? How do you measure this? I just don't think you can.
There's different. Well, let's say the person who asked this question, we can kind of
Mhm.
imagine what he might have meant by that.
Sure. Yeah.
He either meant what you're talking about earlier about crusades and religious wars, or he meant the idea that somebody's cognitive function would be impaired. Those are the two
Right.
things I think that people mean when they say that thing. Sorry, Jeff. It's funny. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, does religion cause cognitive impairment? Yes, but in such a specific way that it really only affects like religious stuff. I think it does
But
because
we're
it does stop you thinking in a certain way about certain things. But like
yeah.
with other things, things that involving like how we put societies together and so on, it doesn't really have much to say about that, I don't think.
All you need to know about a lot of religions is that they will kowtow to whatever society is doing at the time, regardless.
Yeah, yeah,
It they will
yeah,
because that's the only way they're going to get membership. That's the only way they're going to have people
yeah,
believing. That's the only way they're going to keep people, and people are going to progress. Whether and they'll just drag the church by the nose. That doesn't make them
yeah,
not a giant pain in the ass, and it doesn't make them not a problem. And I'm saying the church, not the individuals within the church, because each of
oh
those
yeah,
individuals has to be judged on their own merits. But
yeah,
the church itself and its dogma getting dragged by the nose to wherever
yeah,
society is going at the time. Right?
yeah.
So the
Well,
question becomes
here's an example.
yeah.
You know, Ramadan, Muslims do not eat anything.
Yeah.
Right? During daylight hours, Muslims do not eat or drink anything, including glasses of water, out. They do not eat or drink anything during daylight hours during Ramadan, which is a month. During the
Yep.
nighttime, they can do what they want, right? But during daytime, they do not eat or drink. Now, picture the scene as a letter comes in from Finland one day into Muslim headquarters in Cairo or whatever, and it says, uh, we're inside the Arctic Circle, we're Muslims, we will not see daylight for 9 months,
Oh,
or we will not see
yeah.
nighttime. We only have daylight for a certain number of months.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to eat for about 3 months. For the whole of Ramadan, including the nighttime, we won't be able to eat anything. We're going to be
Yeah.
dead inside a week. So
Yeah.
all the Muslim guys got together, the muftis, and they issued a fatwa, and they said, you know what? Just say, let's say from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock is nighttime, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing about that in the Quran.
No.
Because presumably whoever wrote the Quran, and if you're Muslim, sorry for insulting you here, because it wasn't your God, but if whoever wrote the Quran did not know about Finland, did not know about the
Right.
Arctic Circle, did not know about the differences in day lengths and so on, they called the mosque in Jerusalem Al-Aqsa, Al-Aqsa Mosque, meaning the furthest mosque, because
Yeah.
maybe that was as far as they could imagine.
Right.
Now we have mosques in Ireland, but they're not Al-Aqsa. Only the one in Jerusalem is Al-Aqsa, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
but these Finland Muslims were like, can you do something? And they're like, yeah, sure. Just just call it nighttime from X, right? Not in the Quran,
Right.
not in any of the hadiths, but also a really good idea. And like you said, adapting. There's a famous case of a letter that monks wrote to the Vatican saying that during a certain time they were only supposed to eat fish, right, as their protein, but they were
Mm-hmm.
in Venezuela or something, and that, you know this story, do you?
No, I
They had
just
no
know it.
fish available to them because they were up the mountain.
Yeah.
But what they did have was beavers. And the
Oh,
Pope released an edict saying beavers
counts.
are now fish.
They count.
No, he said beavers are now fish by order of God. And that was the end of the problem. So there's nothing in the Bible about beavers being fish. There's nothing in any Christian ideology. But it's an example of what
Right.
you were saying, how your religion will adapt to whatever you're in, because if it
Mhm.
doesn't, people, in this case, in both of my cases, people will die. But in the cases you were thinking of, people will just not join up.
Like any other evolution, if you do not adapt to where you are not propagating.
Sure, but they
You
also
are
felt,
going to end up extinct.
and they also feel that this is not true. People in the religion do not feel this is true. They think they
No.
have one single continuous religion from yesterday to
Mm.
0 AD, or if you're Muslim, from 650 AD to last night. They think it's one unit of Islam, and it changes
Well,
just like Christianity
very,
does.
very. It's the Catholic kind and the Protestant kind and the Lutheran
Yeah,
kind,
yeah,
and the Baptist
yeah,
kind. So,
yeah.
okay,
But as to
sure,
whether society would be better
Hovind.
off without it, I
That's the
think as
other
long as
thing.
you'd
It
have
doesn't
the,
say. It does not say. The question doesn't say. The statement doesn't say that society would be better off without religion. It says religion has no place in modern society, but it's implying that society would be better off without
yeah.
religion.
I mean, I agree with the idea that religion doesn't have a place in modern society, right? No, I don't. I agree that religion should not have a place in modern society. I don't think it should. But that's not what the question asked. We have religious stuff, and religion might be the only thing holding some people together. I know people who are
Mm.
held together by religion who were drug addicts,
Yep.
people held together by religion who were suffered such catastrophic relationship breakdowns that they would have been distraught otherwise. And like, what am I going to say to them? You're wrong. Buckle up, son. Just stop taking drugs. I'm not
Yeah.
God. I don't get to make those decisions for people.
I
So
I
I don't know.
stand by that you don't burn down your house while you're still in it. You don't cut down your apple tree before
Yeah,
your pear tree has grown. You
that's
need
what
to
Shelton was saying.
plant the seeds and get this shit to
Yeah,
grow before you
yeah,
can do the other thing. So if people believe that religion should no longer have a place or doesn't have a place in modern society, you need to spend far, far more time studying religion and understanding the social expectations, norms, and useful things that
yeah,
religion does, and have a way better
yeah,
understanding of the bad things that religion does and why, and then
yeah,
separate those things, take the shit you like, and leave
yeah,
the bad shit behind. Like people should be doing with Marxism, like people should be doing with
yeah,
capitalism, like people should be doing
yeah,
with socialism, anything.
yeah.
Anything that, because there's no reason why we cannot get to the point where this is actually an effective strategy instead of just someone being
But I
angry
didn't
and
used to believe
lashing
that.
out.
I didn't used to believe that. In about 2005, I was one of these Matt Dillahunty guys, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I honestly thought the trick was to get people out of religion, and then on their own they would have their own kind of ways of dealing with that.
They would
And it was
figure it out.
particularly shitty. It was particularly shitty for me because I love being on my own, and I love like I just sit in my house all day, like reading books, blah blah blah, right? And behind me you can see all the books. But some people aren't like that. Some people have jobs. Some people are rooted in
Mhm.
their communities, and I'm not. Some people are family oriented. I'm not. Like how painful would it be if your whole family was like, let's say, super Christian,
Mhm.
and you're an atheist now? What are you going to do? Just sort of leave? Like that's your family, man.
Yeah.
But before I would have been, yeah, fuck them, leave them.
Well, and in some
Like I can't say
cases,
that
that
now.
is the answer, right? Like, if your family
Yeah,
is super transphobic or super MAGA, you
yeah,
might
but that's
be,
not
it
what I'm
might be in
talking
your
about.
best
I'm not
interest,
talking about
right?
that. I'm
You're
not
talking
talking
about
about
good
that. I'm just talking
people.
about the. Yeah, I don't mean if they're like actually harassing you. I mean if they're like, yeah, if they're decent people, but they're all basically super Christian. How are
Sure.
you gonna like? I'm not gonna tell. I can't keep that shit on the down low if you want.
I mean,
But I wasn't like that
I kept
before.
I'm still friends with my Christian family. I stopped going to Christmas events because I stopped being able to deal with
Yeah,
watching like little kids putting on these performances, and I'm like, I can't deal with the kid part. I can If a bunch of adults being here, fine. Kids I can't handle this right now. I'm not
yeah.
gonna be able to not say anything. So I stopped
But do you
going to
feel like you
like
lost part of your social network when you went when
no,
you blew cover?
no.
Okay, well then you're all right.
Yeah, I was
But
fine.
there are atheists for whom that would not be true,
Absolutely, absolutely.
particularly in shall we say the southern states or southern statey people in the northern states.
Well, particularly if you've got nowhere else to go. And that's what you're
Yeah,
saying Chris Shelton was saying, right? That
if
if
you
you've
blow
got
cover,
nowhere else to go, that you need
yeah,
to build places for people to go. But that's a
yeah,
particularly difficult
secular
thing to
places. Yeah,
do in like Bible Belt Deep South or
yeah,
Israel. Like,
yeah.
how do you even set something like that up in those kinds of places?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's where social media
Well,
can
Israel
play a role.
Israel was actually set up. This might sound strange, but Israel was actually set up as a secular country.
Right.
It was never designed to be religious. In fact, that's one of the complaints Jewish people had with Zionism when it started off. They
Mm,
said, you are, for the first time in history, you are identifying what it means to be Jewish as something other than religion. You're tying it to a scrap of land.
right.
And that's never happened before in history. And all the rabbis didn't like it. Nobody liked it. Zionism was seen as a fringe movement of weirdos at the start. So, and they kind of laugh at the rabbis. They laugh at religious Jewish people in Israel. They think that these people running with religion, they just think they're ridiculous. So Israel is not really a religious country. They're just supremacist, Jewish supremacist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're getting into it. All right, Jeff. Good luck, man.
Jeff challenge them to
Thank you
a
for your service.
debate on Debate Hub.
Yeah, Christ.
All right, we
Oh
are
man.
at the 3 o'clock mark already. I know this is gonna be a little bit short today, but we got other stuff going on, and it is July
You want to
4th
wrap it
for a
up?
bunch of people. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, but we will probably do a part 2 because there's a shitload I think
I
both
would
of us
like to do
think
a
that we
part
didn't
two on
get
this.
to.
I would like to hear what other people have to say about it who aren't me and you.
Yes, me too.
Hmm. All right.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks,
Living with
guys.
Philosophy. Next Saturday, the first Saturday every month is this show. We will see you then. Maybe we'll host
See you
an
next
early
month.
one, but
Bye
we'll see
bye.
how everybody's feeling. Bye.